I'm continuing my little tour of Winsboro. Part 2. I'm visiting my elementary school, Mountain Zion. It was a Revolutionary War fort. I don't want to talk too loud, and again, I'll make it brief because I don't want to bring too much attention to myself. It's a beautiful day. A beautiful little park. They turned my old playground into just a beautiful little walking path. This is very surprising. I was going to go to the park I grew up in, but I drove by here and I saw they turned this into such a beautiful little park with butterfly bushes. But I said a lot of stories here, just mentally. It's a very interesting building for sure. I might, if people drive by or walk by, I might just shut it off briefly. But it also brings up the point I was making in the last video. Just like, why would you bring up really tragic, horrible relationships, which is kind of 100% of mine, but I'll say 90%. I said a lot of stories in school, and that was a miserable experience too. I got pantsed right over there. That's the scene of me getting pantsed. And my brother tells the story of how he used to fight bullies because I wouldn't react to their bullying, so they would bully me just to get me to react. So you're mostly not happy. And I always bring up, I used to sing oldies while circling around the basketball court. That was a different school, but I would just swing. This one doesn't have a basketball court. I think it used to. But because the other kids wouldn't play with me. So I was all alone singing My Girl and things like that. I bring that up all the time. But why would I bring that up? That's a terrible memory. That connects to my point from the last video. And just, this was also, there's war memorials. I don't know if you can see that, but there are war memorials all over this place. And there always was when I went to school here. There are these war memorials. I'll go check out this one. There's not too many people around. A very loud car just went by. This war memorial, there you go. This war memorial was there when I was a kid. There's all kinds of stories of the Revolutionary War here. Of course, this is South Carolina, so there are crepe myrtles, and there are also memorials to the Confederate dead. That's what you get. That was quite a line to end on, but there are loud cars going by. But if you think about, narratives, the sort of thing that we go back to all the time, they tend to be really dark and terrible. Sorry for laughing. I'm trying to do this guerrilla shooting style. It's a public park now, apparently, so I'm sure it's fine. We tend to dredge up these really terrible things. There's a World War memorial and a Vietnam memorial over there, and a memorial to Iranian hostages. And it's this whole path of just all these memorials. But if you think about how many war stories, why would people go back to war stories? And the conventional interpretation is that they want to exercise the feelings of these war stories. I'm going to do this surreptitiously, so I don't have to keep pausing it as cars go by. I've never gotten over the social phobias that caused the bullying in school. But anyway, so why do people go back to the Vietnam War or the World War II or the Civil War? Just constantly. If it's such a traumatic experience. Partly the conventional explanation is to get rid of the negative feelings, to exercise them through catharsis. Hopefully this audio is going to pick up. I have no idea. if this audio is going to pick up. Exercise them through catharsis. Exercise them with an O, like a demon, like William S. Burroughs said. And it's hard to face the idea that we enjoy feeling negative feelings. But I call that the masochistic shame. This is a much busier road than I expected it to be. Lots and lots of people driving down this road. I call it the masochistic shame because no matter how valid it is, that we enjoy feeling the negative feelings. We don't tend to own that just all of a sudden. There's lots and lots of cars just riding down that road. I'll wait for a second. There's a nice summer sound right now. It was about to rain, but it's just a nice temperature now. It was about 90 degrees. Now it's like 70. But a nice summer dusk. If you ignore the car sounds. Okay. One day I'll learn to edit, so I'll edit all that out. This is sort of the process of writing, is I'll share everything and then I'll edit later. But the conventional explanation is that you get rid of the negative feelings by writing about them. But from a non-dualistic perspective, you're mining the negative feelings in order to enhance the stimulation of others throughout the storytelling. And I think my system is a response to what I think is a lot of common misconceptions that don't really gel together. That explanation is inconsistent with pretty much every other explanation of how stories work. To say that we're getting rid of feelings, and that's the purpose of storytelling. But it's just something that people sometimes struggle. Oh, thunder. I know it's going to rain soon. I will get out of here very soon. But my point being that the conventional explanation of catharsis, the elimination of emotions, comes from a false dualistic concept of the universe where intellect is good and emotions are bad. And that's driven by the outer rim of the rainbow circle. I don't have the prop with me. This was all spontaneous. The outer rim of the rainbow circle is the more rational end of the spectrum. And that draws you towards destimulation. So that rational end of the spectrum drawing you towards destimulation convinces us that emotions must be bad and those are things that we need to eliminate. But the center of the rainbow circle, the visceral response, the visceral stimulation, is just as powerful, drawing us towards stimulation. So if we listen to a war story, might have to bring up Tim O'Brien eventually. If you listen to a war story, we're getting the stimulation of negative emotions. Hold on. Yeah, I'm going to have to wrap it up. It's about the storm. You get the stimulation of negative emotions, which can be very valuable things. The positive and negative dynamic is not necessarily the relevant thing here, but we're drawn towards the stimulation of strong emotions, and that could be through, admittedly, masochistic desire to make yourself feel bad things. But it doesn't have to be a shameful thing. It's totally normal to desire to feel these negative things. And while feeling the negative things, to desire the resolution of these negative things simultaneously. The mistake we tend to make with storytelling is that our desire within the hearing of the story to resolve the negative feelings is the purpose, whereas the actual story itself is actually stimulating these negative feelings, gratifying that desire for that non-dualistic stimulation. If that makes sense. I'll go ahead and wrap it up for today so I don't get rained on. I wanted to get a hamburger from Roadrunner Cafe, the greatest hamburgers in the history of hamburgers. There's their catering truck, which I didn't know they had. 803-402-7088. Greatest hamburgers in the history of hamburgers. But ironically, they used to have a sign that said, worst hamburgers in the world. Full breakfast, meat, grits, eggs, toast. That's amazing. This is an amazing, amazing place. Please do eat food here. But I just thought that was funny, based on what I was saying before about the ironies of what we think is good is actually bad, and what we think is bad is actually good. In some ways. But the greatest hamburger in the history of hamburgers. It is Sunday, so I shouldn't be surprised, but go eat hamburgers at Roadrunner Cafe. They are gigantic and delicious and amazing. And that is all. I don't have much of a point about storytelling, just that how much I love Roadrunner hamburgers. And I'm very sad now. I'm going to try to finish up my discussion of catharsis in my actual backyard, so it's aesthetically similar at least. But the barking might get crazy. Okay. Maybe this won't work. Okay, the barking stopped. Okay, the barking stopped. Hopefully it won't start up again. But by the way, the plug for Roadrunner, they're not sponsors, although I'm open for them to be sponsors. I would love to open every episode by saying, sponsored by Roadrunner in Winsboro. Mostly joking. I would love to have just little hamburger spots. My neighbor dog is trying to get the attention of my dogs. But I would love to have just little hamburger shops in little towns sponsor me. The best hot dog in the world is also from Winsboro at the Strawberry Patch. They were also closed. It is Sunday, so, and it is South Carolina. Here come my dogs. So catharsis, I think, was one of the biggest misconceptions that has remained, misconceptions about storytelling, that has remained for years. The idea that, and it's a rationalization of, they're going to get on my lap. If I'm sitting out here, or if I'm sitting inside. Oh, here they come. Hey, Zico. That's a better spot for you, because you're not blocking the camera. Okay, just get up. Just get up. There you go. And then Maggie's on my lap. Okay, here they are. Here they are. What's up, babe? Where was it? But it's a rationalization of what is essentially an irrational thing, and I think the problem is that the problem of the misconception is the idea that we have to rationalize it. The irrational thing is that so many stories are about misery and pain and suffering, and so it's irrational to say that people create these things in order to feel empathetic pain because they enjoy feeling pain. Okay. All right. My lawn chairs are on their side over there. Okay, sit down. There you go. There's some embarrassing things in my yard. Like, my lawn chairs have been on their side for ages now. I don't care. That tree back there, I had a discussion of Wuthering Heights one time, and I said, I have this tree that reminds me of the family tree in Wuthering Heights. So now that tree always reminds me of Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights is just constant misery. Without much catharsis, arguably. So, my point is, if I could concentrate, this is the problem when I get the dogs around. But my point is, there's no real reason to to rationalize away the... Maggie's just still sitting on my lap. There's no real reason to rationalize the desire to feel negative emotions, because that's just the essence of the storytelling. This audio might not pick up because of the air conditioner also. I don't know. It's just spontaneous completely. All of it is a spontaneous experiment. Speaking of pain, she's very heavy. So there's no real reason to rationalize away what seems to be an irrational desire to experience pain, because that's the basic component of the storytelling itself. The stimulation of the pain. And the catharsis is just a logical way of saying why a rational person might want to feel negative emotions in order to purge it. Or, there might be a social function to balance out the negative emotions in society, but that takes for granted. That comes from a system where emotion is an evil. There are my dogs. There go my dogs, the neighbor dog. I love them, but this is annoying. Hold on. I thought they stopped, but they're still going. I can get them to hush for a minute or two. Hush, hush. Okay. So, I'll just make my point real quickly. This is the theme of the day. This is not a great place to film. I like the lighting here. I look super old. I don't know why I like that, but I look super old in this lighting. But anyway, my life has aged me. So, all of my terrible relationships have aged me. But my point is, in actually experiencing terrible things, at the moment you don't think that that's a positive thing, and you bring it up again in a story, and rationally it seems like the reason would be to purge it. Some people treat it that way, and the end point is the purgation, perhaps. But it's sort of what I was saying with the mystery stories in the last episode. The story itself is the mystery. The resolution of the mystery is the end of the story. So purgation of negative emotions is the end of the story. It's not the purpose of the story. And that's a big mistake that a lot of people make. Maybe one day I'll talk about the even worse tragic relationship. I said all my relationships have been tragic. My first one ended with my girlfriend, from my perspective, attempting suicide. I have a worse one. I have a much worse one. I'll just leave it at this. I was listening to a podcast on domestic violence. This person will remain anonymous. I was listening to a podcast on domestic violence, and the person said, non-fatal choking should be a felony. And I felt that, having been the recipient of that. I'll just leave it at that. Sometimes I've wanted to do these just as in case Keith Morrison wanted to make a Dateline mystery about my dead body. I get really morbid, I guess. I wanted to leave a clue about maybe one of those non-fatal chokings was not as non-fatal. But anyway, making these videos is one of the few moments of joy that I've had in life. I laugh about my misery, I don't know why. Being a father, writing fiction, being an animal father, and making these videos. Other than that, so much misery. I had a workshop leader tell me that I'll leave it on something kind of funny. Hopefully, I don't know. My idea of funny might not be actually funny at all. when people said, "I'm sorry your father died," I would say, "Why are you sorry you didn't kill him?" Which is a terrible joke. I don't know why I do that. But I had a workshop leader say, I should be more vulnerable. And then I counted up how many stories I wrote. Let's see, how many stories I've written about my girlfriend attempting suicide. So I was like, yeah, that's what you're using. That I'm not vulnerable. That was just ridiculous. Then later he called me self-indulgent, and I told him that he could do something self-indulgent and anatomically impossible. I'll just leave it at that. It involves blanking himself in a certain way. Hopefully that's funny. I mean, I can laugh at these miserable, horrible things now, but being able to laugh at them is not, the relief. It's bringing them up in stories elicits the negative emotions once again. But that's the component of the story, is dredging up these negative emotions once again. And I'll just leave it at that. Isn't that a cute little house? That's my son's little house. He used to play in that. He used to pretend to be. This sort of ties it together. He used to pretend to give Maggie hamburgers. Isn't that cute? I'll end on a cute moment. See you next episode.